it's Randy Bird, your host of Tuesday Titans Live, and I'm very excited to be here today. The guest today, this has been months in the making to align our calendars, and I am very pleased to be able to introduce Dr. John Gray. Dr. Gray is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 90s. Dr. Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages, published many bestsellers. I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share his website real quick just so you get a look at John. Mars Show. Good morning, John. Welcome to the show. It's really my pleasure to have you with us here on Tuesday Titans. How are you today?
Happy to be with you. Very happy to be with you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I don't know the number.
So exciting today is helping people understand the masculine, feminine energy. A project I do is I do a Facebook Live, John Gray, Mars, Venus, every Thursday. So I do my live thing on Thursdays for 4 hours.
Every Thursday for 4 hours? That's quite a contribution.
10 o'clock Pacific time.
And that's available for anybody?
Everybody's free.
That's spectacular. And I'm going to put that link up on our website too, so they could get to that easily as well. So they don't have to write it down right now.
But the most important project, we're getting so much positive feedback on our relationship courses, the free course at marsvenus.com. It's a 3-day program. It's free. People love it. It's great. It's great. You know, Men Are From Mars changed people's lives, and now we've updated it. But there's certain points, you know, when you can do a workshop, and the workshop's free for people, where you have exercises and I demonstrate them. My daughter, Lauren, who teaches it as well, she demonstrates them. So it's really very good.
That's amazing. I'd love to talk about Lauren in a little bit. I remember when, obviously many years ago, she was coming through the ranks of wanting to do this and following your footsteps. And now to see her doing that's pretty special.
We're in a world where communication makes all the difference, and women have a greater tendency towards wanting to communicate better. It's in my field of teaching people how to have better relationships, it applies all in the workplace as well. And women are better educated today too. I mean, this is what people don't realize is in the last 10 years, 2 women to 1 man graduates from college.
I didn't know that.
No, people don't know that. That's shocking information.
That is a shocking number.
And even in the whole broader arena, when they talk about women making less than men, well, yeah, women at a lower income level make much less for the same job. But when you get to women 35 years old and without children, they make 30% more than men for the same job.
And isn't that something?
Well, they're hard workers. The challenge for women today is when they're making money, they produce male hormones. That's what produces male hormones, is whenever you focus on a task, you put your personal needs to the side and you go ahead, kind of like a soldier. You go into battle, you put your own life at stake. Well, if a woman puts her personal life to the side to make money, it makes the male hormone testosterone. And that feels good. It's very effective. It makes her very confident, but it also keeps her from feeling like she can sleep well at night. Often she doesn't feel the need for relationships. The ability to experience emotional intimacy becomes less for her. Ironically, women crave a man who's emotionally available, but most of the time she's not emotionally available. And she wants the man to be emotionally available so she'll feel safe to go to her female side. It's a big challenge. As women go more to their masculine side, producing more testosterone, their estrogen levels will tend to go down. Their progesterone levels will tend to go down. Their oxytocin levels will tend to go down. And these are female hormones that lower her stress level. For men, testosterone lowers our stress level. This is all amazing information. Once we understand the hormonal plumbing of our body, we really are biologically very different.
You're giving me goosebumps, seriously, because as much as I think I've studied and understood the way you just described it, it kind of the light bulb comes on, right? It's like we're literally 2 different aliens, and
we are aliens. We're from different planets biologically.
Biologically, more tools in my toolbox to have that conversation now, because I'm understanding what they need from it almost. And it's not a manipulation. That's how it felt in the beginning, by the way. It felt like I was like, aha, I got something I can use to my benefit and manipulate, but it's not. It's a communicative thing that was kind of the holy grail, in my opinion.
You know, one of the things that improves communication dramatically is curiosity.
Mhm.
You know, when somebody speaks to us, we're sort of ready to explain something, make our point, and so forth. And it's like if we just take a little extra time, this is a walk away point for everybody listening, particularly men. If you take a little extra time before you speak, and when you do speak, ask 3 questions at least before you say anything.
Mhm.
So some simple rules. And the first one, and it's to get out of the habit of just wanting to finish her sentence, wanting to adjust what she said, wanting to offer a solution. Instead, you practice saying, help me understand that better. And you
Wow.
just pause and she'll talk more. And then you say, tell me more. And then you say, what else? 3 things, you know, if, and it's hard to do, by the way. We are wired up. We're
Oh,
like
yeah.
we're like firemen, okay? We're race car drivers.
Right.
You know, get ready, go, start. As soon as she stops talking, we're ready to fix the problem, to solve everything. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to fix the problem, solve everything, if you know what the right solution is. And the right solution, if you want to help a woman's estrogen to go up, is to generate a sense of interest, curiosity, and safety that she can express whatever she has to say. And, you know, even safety doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to hit her or something crazy like that. I want to give you one example people will remember is, you know, since we mentioned my daughter, Lauren, you know, she's a superstar at my website, you know, thousands of people listen to her courses and so forth. She has women only courses. But when she was a little girl, she was not so good at math, you know, and first grade. Oh, I don't like math. So I worked with her math homework always. Which by the time she got to college and I wasn't there, she was a best calculus student, you know, but she needed that interaction. It was good father-daughter bonding.
Yeah.
So basically, I did all of her homework for her up to 8th grade, which was fun. It was fun. And, you know, she would do it with me. So I was teaching her while I did it for her. And then she got it. But before she got it, I hired a tutor around 8th grade because they understood the formulas better than me. I could get that far. Anyway, when she was struggling with a problem, we both were. My brother was in town and he is like a math whiz, you know, PhD guy in science and so forth. So I said, hey, Robert, can you help Lauren solve this problem? And he looked at it, he says, sure, that's easy. Now, as soon as he said that's easy, he became my daughter's enemy. Because when you suddenly give an answer to something, you diminish that person's competence. Do you see how that is? Unless that person is going to you because they feel, would you help me do this? But even to her, that comment, oh, that's easy, I'll show you how, that really pushed her down because she didn't know him yet. And that was her first experience. So it's important. And I tell that big, long story because every time we're men, we get paid for having solutions. I mean, I'm on the show with you because I'm a solution man. I've written books on solutions and everything. But when a woman, particularly in a personal relationship or in a sales situation, and this is one of the reasons women are better at selling these days, is because they're not trying to push the person. Even if they have a push behind them, they intuitively understand the way women think, and they will tend to ask more questions, lead them on. And what else? Is to generate more opportunities to articulate yourself will raise your estrogen levels. And that's what women intuitively know. And that's so important today. Now, maybe it's not as important with men, you might think, but actually, when a man is considering a big purchase, there's always insecurity, right? Am I picking the right thing? He is going to be making female hormones. He's going to be more on his female side. And therefore, a wise person knows, even if a man's making a purchase, to ask more questions. The thing about selling to a man would be you'd want to impress him more with, I've sold this house and I've sold this house and I've done this and I know this, you know, which some women might be turned off to because you'd like, who's Mr. Ego over there? But men want to sell to an ego. Okay. If you haven't done it before, I don't want to have you do me. So, but at the same time, women intuitively have that sense of knowing to ask questions, which says that you care about that person. You ask questions to say, I understand where you're coming from, what you like, what you don't like, and I'm not pushing you, but I'm gently leaning into you. And women want to be treated that way. So she knows instinctively how to sell to a buyer. So that's very interesting.
And I think that's why women are doing so well in the real estate and sales industry. You know, we've now 65 to 68% women in the industry, and they're just really dominating in terms of leadership roles and number one agents in the nation. And
And there's another dynamic to this. Okay. So there's also the dynamic of the male female, a woman selling to a man. That man comes home to his wife every day. And I won't say every man, but a lot of men that I have counseled come home to their wives every day. And that wife has taken him for granted, doesn't appreciate him anymore. And he's taken her for granted without a doubt. You know, he used to say, I love you. You're the sweetest woman. There's so many women in the world, but you're the only one I want to be with. I care about you. Let me see, what are you doing? Pushing ourselves all the time. But we have, the key word there is when you feel as a man, I have to do something and I can do it. Okay. There has to be the sense of I can do it and I have to do it. Women, on the other hand, when they're stressed out, they're feeling I can do it and I have to do it. That's it. And their stress will get higher if I have to do it and I can't do it. That will knock it out of the park. What a man does when he feels I have to do it, I can't do it. Okay, forget it.
Forget it.
That's what we do at the end of the day. That's called the cave time. That's in my book, Men Are From Mars, that men will typically, when they're stressed at work or exhausted, they'll come home and they want to ignore everybody and do something just for himself. Right. To distract his attention from problems that are difficult to solve. So now he can have a hobby or watch TV or something little where he can now forget his problems. So another simple concept here, men need to take time to forget their problems, which is why meditation is also a good thing. When you can forget the problems that you can't solve right now, because you've come home from work, you can't do anything about those problems. True. You have to forget them. And meditation was one practice where people can forget their problems. And so natural for men, a little more difficult for women, but more important for women is to learn how to share their feelings in a way where the person will listen to them. And that's an art. You can't just share your feelings with a man. You have to communicate to him in a way where he will hear you. And prior to that, you have to practice on your own, writing out any complaints you have. I suggest to women, if you're listening and you're in a relationship, try going 30 days without uttering a complaint. Not even my neck hurts, or I'm tired, or nobody helped me today. No complaint at all. And certainly not a complaint about him. Try it for 30 days. But what you do is you need that outlet. So you write it out. You write out everything you want to say. And whenever anything has sort of an emotional feeling to it, write it 10 times. Simple little exercise beyond Mars and Venus, which is helping women understand the pathways back to estrogen. And there's many more. And for men, the pathways back to testosterone. Because here's a takeaway for every man watching and for every woman watching to understand this. Whenever a man is angry, that means he's in his fight or flight, right?
200,000-year-old monkey brain.
Yeah, it's the monkey brain. It's automatic. He has nothing's going on up here. Okay. So when a man gets angry, what's happening in his body? His testosterone is going down. His estrogen is going up. Now, anger is estrogen. Okay. It's an emotion. So now his estrogen is going up. If he talks while he's angry at the person he's angry with, he will only become more and more angry. Therefore, if you sense a man is angry, don't ask him questions. Don't encourage him to talk. Basically say, I need to think about this and we can talk later, and walk away quick. All of our reactions are based upon the way we interpret reality. All right. Everything is how we're interpreting. So knowledge is very important as well as practice.
Yeah.
Today, we've discussed the knowledge that men need distance to rebuild their testosterone. Women have to understand this. He really needs to be pulled away. Also, men need to have jobs in order to rebuild their testosterone, so they're not dependent on her for it. He's dependent on her to bring it up higher, but not for his basis.
And that's a change in our world now. We're seeing
many men are not making the money, or they're not having the opportunity. They're not getting out there.
Yeah.
There are many, many psychological needs we have other than just being intimate. We'll call those vitamin A, B, C, E, F, G. And then you've got vitamin D. Vitamin D is what we get out of our relationships, so to speak, in this metaphor. But you've got to get all the other vitamins. So imagine that, and our normal life gives us that. We're not getting that most of the time for everybody right now. So imagine you have all your vitamins except vitamin D. So you're feeling happy, and you meet some guy or some woman, now you feel happier. It's like you're in a good mood and you go out in the sunshine and blue skies, you're really happy. You go, wow. What that wow is a surge of vitamin D coexisting with all of your other vitamins.
Interesting.
But if you don't have all the other vitamins, vitamin D doesn't do anything. Okay. So that's why your partner can no longer have the positive effect they had in the past. And therefore we tend to blame them for not making us feel that way. And we go, well, you should be doing this. You're not doing this. So we have to check. This is a great reset to stop demanding more from your partner and start healing yourself.
Yeah,
Stop looking to your partner to make you happy, and understanding, women, you need to take this time to not look to your partner like to share your feelings and complain and express anything. Don't try to change anything for a while. Change yourself. This is reset who you are. Learn how to get out of the habit of using negativity to get what you want. That's called complaining. If you use negativity to get what you want, then every time you want more, your brain will look for something to be negative about. You're growing pathways in your brain that become automatic, looking at what's wrong, and don't watch the news. All this fear just puts you in the adrenaline state, which puts you into the pathways of a monkey brain. And the monkey brain in danger has a 10 times greater bias to see negativity than positivity.
Totally.
Why? It's about survival. I need to know what's going to hurt, not what feels good. Yeah. So this is like, we have to keep, and so you'll get in these arguments and you'll feel, oh, I hate you. I don't know if I ever loved you anyway. You've never done this for me. All that is that's a lie. That is the big lie. The big lie is don't trust your feelings unless your heart is open and you're happy. If your heart isn't open, don't trust your feelings. Anything that doesn't feel good, don't believe it, particularly now. Give yourself time to settle down, and don't say that, well, you said that's your true colors. No, that's not their true colors. That's what they feel when they're being temporarily crazy. Thank you.
So last question, what impact do you want to have on the world? You have such a legacy and such a footprint that you've left, but what impact do you want to have on the world?
Oh, I want people to have better relationships, true understanding between men and women. So divorce dramatically goes down. Children grow up in intact mother-father families. Because right now the world's going in the opposite direction. We want to bring it back together, but with new enlightenment on how to create passion and love to keep the family together. For children will grow up geniuses.
I love it. Thank you, John. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you so deeply, and I appreciate everything you've contributed.
I know. Thank you so much. What a joy. Thank you.